My name is Joshua. I used to be a carpenter in the city, but then I had the bright idea to drag a 32-foot wooden sailboat into the woods of eastern Canada where I'm living off-grid. Built in Japan in 1966, for almost half a century she sailed the seven seas only to be marooned on the other side of the world. I aim to fix that. The only problem, I've never worked on a boat before. This is a boat in the woods. I had some great suggestions on how to improve the tarp setup. The first being guy lines for the two trees supporting the ridgeline. I was originally going to try to tie the line to the base of one of the nearby trees, but couldn't get a straight shot through the branches, so I just did two lines to different trees higher up. The other improvement I made was using a non-stretching ridge line, which is much better than the nylon one that I bought at the hardware store. February 13th. One more quick modification to the shelter. At midship, I rigged up a line under the tarp and then propped it with a birch pole on either side to give me a bit more headroom on deck. After that, I spent a few hours shoveling snow away from the boat. It's supposed to warm up a bit over the next little while, so I'm hoping I can speed up the melting process in the yard. Next, I tackled installing a temporary companionway ladder so that I wouldn't have to climb on the engine anytime I needed to get in or out of the cabin. I used a large set of dividers to gauge the step height of the old ladder, and then made small adjustments until I had an equal number of steps at a comfortable height. It's too bad dividers have mostly fallen out of favor. They're a very useful tool to have in the toolbox. After I had everything laid out, I nailed on some blocking, nailed the treads into those, and then put a screw into either side of each tread to lock everything together. February 17th. I took a few days to deal with something that I'll write about later. Now is the time to focus on the engine. I want to pull it so that I can start assessing if I should attempt a rebuild. My plan is to tear it down as much as I can while it's still in the boat to make removal easier. I started top down, removing the air filter cover, and then working on the intake manifold. I got all but one of the intake bolts out, the last one stripped. I switched over to the heat exchanger to see if it would give me better access to the strip bolt. I really enjoy tasks like this. It's like a big puzzle, figuring out what needs to come apart in what order. Turns out the alternator needed to come out before I could get to the bolts holding in the heat exchanger. Ah. I think I could probably reuse this. Didn't quite get it off today, but there's only a couple crusty hoses to pull off, and then it should pop right off.
Alright, I'm gonna have to come back to this.
February 18th. I managed to get the old hoses off of the heat exchanger. One of them is full of crud.
Ouch. Alright.
Once it was off, I had good access to the stripped manifold bolt. Since it's a hex socket, I was able to hammer an oversized Torx bit in and crack it loose.
Nice.
Next, I pulled the timing belt cover and pried the belt off the crusty old pulleys. Then I started taking the injection pump off, but had to remove the whole bracket since it seems like I need a puller to get the pulley off of the pump.
Nice.
Later, I took the valve cover off. The cams don't look bad at all. I was also going to drain the oil, but it doesn't look like there's any in it. I hope it didn't all leak out into the bilge over the last 15 years it's been sitting.
Nothing.
I started on the head bolts next, but needed more leverage on the big 10mm Allen key, so I borrowed a hollow bar to slip over one end. I undid them in the reverse of the assembly order, a quarter turn at a time, so that I wouldn't warp the head. With the bolts out and all the wires disconnected, the head came off nice and easy. But it revealed some nasty looking pistons.
Oh no.
I hope the cylinders aren't too corroded. February 19th. Started the morning by pulling the starter. One of the bolts was stripped, but luckily I was able to tap a 1/2-inch socket onto it and back it out, or snap the head off.
Well, that works.
Unfortunately, I had to pull a bracket off to remove the starter itself, snapping another bolt in the process.
Oh no. It's gonna snap. Oh. Sweet.
Next, I pulled some sort of pump from what looks like a socket for a distributor, which is weird because I don't think diesels have distributors.
There we go.
After that, I started unbolting the outdrive from the engine block. Two of the bolts were trapped by the rear engine mounts. I was able to get one of them out with a pair of needle nose vice grips, but the other gave me more trouble.
Yeah, no shot.
I ended up shortening the engine mount studs with a grinder, but even so, the one was a bear to remove.
Keep your threads clean.
One of them came off no problem, but the other two on the starboard side I couldn't budge at all.
That's not happening.
Once I had the engine free from the base, I was able to access the last of the bolts holding it to the outdrive. What I did next was incredibly stupid.
Okay.
I single-handed the rest of the engine out of the boat.
Let's do this.
When I did the test lift off of the mounts, I thought it was manageable, but didn't realize how horribly awkward the ergonomics of this lift were going to be. I got it out of the boat, but could have seriously injured myself. All I needed to do was ask for help. Once I had it off the mounts, I didn't think I could put it back in place.
Okay, that didn't work.
Anyways, it's a mistake I won't make again. Probably. February 20th. Chad came by and helped me haul the engine to his shop where I'll be rebuilding it. It's amazing how much easier it is to lift with two people.
I should have just called you. Over like that?
Yeah, kind of go back with it.
Okay.
We also made a concoction of automatic transmission fluid and diesel to sit in the cylinders for a while to help free them up.
Ooh, that looks like cream soda.
Oh yeah.
There it is.
It's like,
Is that just to get the water out?
I'm just gonna warm it up a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe penetrating oil whenever I use it. Usually get it good and hot and spread penetrating oil. Pulls it right
Well, I made a bit of a mess today, but I'm really happy to have the engine out. I think I'll call a friend when it comes time to pull the outdrive.